big topic to discuss, the Champions League, recapping match week 4. Of course, it was a big week for Premier League clubs across the board. We had 3 victories, 1 draw. Cristiano Ronaldo's heroics to bail Manchester United out once again. We have plenty of clubs now confirming their spot in the last 16. But Nick, we have to start in one place and one place only. Cristiano Ronaldo bailing out United, as I said, 2 goals, again in the Champions League. They somehow scraped a draw away at Atalanta. Is Ronaldo simultaneously the problem and the solution? Because it kind of seems that way right now, right? They don't play as a team as they were before he arrived, but he always has that penchant for the spectacular, and he certainly did that against Atalanta, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's like when Kanye West comes out with a good song and it reminds you of how good those old albums are, but also how much maybe you don't like them. And so with Ronaldo, it's crazy for me. I think what bothers me the most about this entire operation is I think pundits actually sometimes influence my opinion by being really dumb. So we talk about how he doesn't defend. He doesn't press. He doesn't do anything. And then he scores and they go, well, they say he doesn't. Well, right. He doesn't defend. He scores. Like, these are not, he can be the problem as well as part of the solution. He's a fantastic finisher. I mean, I remember the story from Tim Howard's book, which I believe is still on Andy's shelf over his shoulder, where he talked about there was a rain delay or something, or a problem with the lights at Manchester United training. Ronaldo's like 19 years old and they pull him off. And everybody off the field, but Ronaldo stays on and works on the same kick 100 times. I mean, the guy's a robot. He's an absolute machine, and it's marvelous to watch. I just don't like him.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? To this whole Man United team, I feel like the entire team, it's kind of difficult to like them, but there's so many great superstars that they keep delivering week in, week out. Andy, where are you with them? And also, Chelsea look like they're going to go through. Man City are close, and it's a decent week for the Premier League teams in the Champions League, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm still in the same spot with United and Ronaldo and the signing and Solskjaer and everything. It's how much can change in a week. Just a week ago, we had the conversation about Ole, and it was, well, we know he's going to go. We just don't know exactly when. So who's going to replace him? And we're a week later, and he's gotten a couple of wins, or he's gotten a win and a draw, and they are looking like they're still alive, I think, for this season. And he looks like he's still alive. So have the players, I think, maybe responded a little bit kind of in his defense, or is this simply doing, them doing their job? At a certain point, it becomes, I think, when a manager is under fire, it becomes difficult to tell which one it is. And I don't think that the players rallying around him is something that we're going to see. And so it's still just a matter of time. And it's just, time is getting away for Manchester United, and they've already now missed out on Antonio Conte. And so it's just a little bit interesting to see kind of the swings back and forth that they've endured so early in the season. We're 10 games in to the Premier League season, and it feels like United have lived an entire season already in 2021, 2022. So, but in Champions League, they are, I think, of the 4 Premier League teams, they are easily the worst squad from top to bottom, and I think also they're the least suited to knockout competition like the Champions League. Defensively, they struggle, and so once we get into the knockout rounds, I think they're an early out for me. But you look at Chelsea, you look at Manchester City; those are teams with defensive, just defensive forces that they are, and so they set up better for competitions like this. And so it's not at all a surprise, I think, to see United coming back late in games. Multiple weeks and multiple times during the group stage, because even in the easier group that they've got, they're still not dominant. They're still on par with some of those lesser teams, and that's for all the money spent at Old Trafford in the last couple of years now. It's a little bit shocking to be able to say that, I think.
Yeah, obviously they're top of the group somehow, Group F, heading into the final 2 games against young boys of Bern and Villarreal. So you'd have to think they're going to make it through to the last 16, and that was bare minimum for Manchester United at the start of the season. Man City is sitting pretty at the top of their group. Chelsea is second behind Juve and theirs, but they're going to go through. And of course, Liverpool, Nick, they're through. They're the first Premier League team through to the last 16. That was impressive, wasn't it? It dominated Atletico Madrid at Anfield. Are they up there with the favourites to win the Champions League? Because quite quietly, they are 25 games unbeaten, dating back to April under Jurgen Klopp. So they almost feel like they've gone under the radar, if that's possible with Liverpool right now.
They do, but they also feel a little bit like Barcelona of the Messi, Suarez, Neymar era, in that I look at them and I go, "Oh, PK is going to fix everything," so, at the back, and I'm just not sure defensively that they're going to be able to do it. And maybe even in a one-off game, maybe over two legs, they're enough with their managerial quality and the tactics to overcome it. But I do think they're one of the favorites. I'm not seeing a clear favorite besides Bayern Munich, and they didn't even win it last year. So, Chelsea, I think, is up there. Man City is certainly up there, especially as these games go on and you watch them not struggle, but you watch them just not at their finishing best. You start to think they're doing something in January. So I guess maybe I'm seeing more teams get into that group with Bayern and Man City, or I'm sorry, yeah, Bayern and Man City than I thought were really there. And Liverpool has impressed me so much this season. I just don't know if they're good enough at the back.
Andy, do you agree with that? Because there's a few teams now have made it through to the last 16 with Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Juventus, Ajax. So we already know a quarter of the teams who are going to be in the knockout rounds. And Liverpool, you kind of fancy them to beat pretty much all those. Maybe Bayern would be the toughest test, given how they can just score on teams no matter what. And Lewandowski's going to score, but they have some defensive issues as well, right? So there's no real clear favourite this season in the Champions League.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as you're describing Bayern there, you're also describing Liverpool. Almost exactly the same strengths, almost exactly the same weaknesses, a fairly similar style that they play with as well. That would obviously be a dream matchup if we get that at any point during the knockout stages. I just look at Liverpool and I say, well, one, they've been there before. This group of players, largely outside of two or three players that get consistent minutes for that team, were all on the team that won the Champions League a couple of years ago. So they have experience in this competition. They've won the Premier League as well. This is a winning squad now. This is a squad of players there's a bunch of winners, and they have won major trophies for Liverpool in the last couple of years. And so, they're coming. If you kind of look at the age profile and where some of the contracts are with Liverpool, and I know we've talked about Mohamed Salah a little bit with regards to that, but they're coming up to maybe the end of the cycle for this team. And so this might be the last opportunity with that group together to go and try to get another trophy, or maybe get a couple of trophies, or get a few trophies this season. As good as they've been, I think we have to consider at least that we could be looking at a team that could collect 2 or 3 or 4 trophies this season, the way that we kind of built up the second half of Manchester City's season last season. I think that could be Liverpool this year. They look that good to me because when they get on teams, they don't let up. I guess they had the one game a couple weeks ago where I think they were up 2-0 and then they ended up drawing 2-2. But with that one exception, they have an ability to put teams away. We saw it against Manchester United. We've seen it in the Champions League as well. There's a ruthlessness to them, and they, once the job is halfway done, they finish it. They don't let teams back in. And in knockout competitions like this, especially over 180 minutes, that's one of the most important things: is you get out to a lead and you're able to hold it. And I don't see massive defensive issues for Liverpool. I look at a little bit of imbalance between pushing forward too much and not having numbers back. And that's something that Jurgen Klopp has always wrestled with. He's always given them a little bit more freedom early in the season. And then as they get on and it's time to really shut up shop and they need to get results, they can dial it back just a little bit, but they're so good up top that the goals are still there for them.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think this Chelsea, Man City and Liverpool are right up there, the favourites to win this. I know it's obvious to say, but I'm looking around Europe and the perennial powerhouses, Barcelona, Real Madrid, even Juve are already through. I don't see a lot there to worry the Premier League teams at the moment. They're doing okay in their groups, and I just can see a Chelsea grinding their way to the final again. I can see Man City or Liverpool just outlasting teams and rotating and just wearing them down as well with their attacking talents in a different way to Chelsea. So yeah, there's some really interesting storylines developing in the Champions League, and PSG and Bayern Munich I think will be there or thereabouts given the quality that they have in abundance. But this is set up very well, I think, already for the Premier League teams, depending on the draws they get, of course, in the last 16. That's all important. Nick, you want to jump in and say something there?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's probably worth mentioning that we have a pretty good manager at PSG and that Messi is still figuring himself out there. And I like to think Pochettino will figure that out. and that I don't want to sleep on them. They've made a final when they've had a good manager in recent memory, and there's still something to be said for them going out on top, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree with you. How do US men's national team players get on, Nick? I know you were keeping a close eye on them, but obviously Weston McKennie played pretty well. Christian Pulisic returned and looked very sharp, nearly scored against Malmo for Chelsea. Sergino Dest didn't play, got a bit of a knock. We'll talk about that later on in the show, and his future's looking a bit uncertain. And then with that crazy battle we're seeing play out in the group between Lille, Salzburg, Wolfsburg, I mean, that Group G is wide open, right, with Tim Weah, Brendan Aronson, and then, of course, John Brooks, all featuring heavily as well. So there's a lot for the American national team fans to keep an eye on, wasn't there, in the Champions League this week?
Yeah, Weston McKennie was very, very good. He didn't score. He hit a post. He had a kind of meandering, slaloming dribble that ended up clattering into the crossbar. Pulisic looked good. I mean, he missed a huge chance, but the game was pretty much done. It was literally the last kick of the game, and he was coming on for his first 17 minutes since the middle of September. Really neat moment. Not neat moment, but not for them. John Brooks got a yellow card for fouling Brendan Aronson. That was kind of cool to see. This is where we are as American soccer fans. Thought Aronson was very good. And Jesse Marsch got a yellow card as well for arguing early on in the PSG. It looked like he was going to pump the ball into the stands. So it's been really fun, and I like McKennie a lot. I'm very, very interested to see if it translates to two huge games that we're going to talk about in a little bit, just because of the news with Jamaica and Antonio and Leon Bailey returning. So this is going to be a fun week. It's going to be a really fun week.
Definitely. And after that, Tyler Adams got a booking as well for giving Angel Di Maria a nice little shove to the ground and showing his nasty streak. So
too many Red Bulls.
Yeah, exactly. In more ways than one. It was a really, really intriguing week for the US players, especially ahead of these World Cup qualifiers, to get a lot of big game action in the Champions League. So that's always great to see, given how many injury issues and form issues some of these guys have had in recent months, that they're all kind of there or thereabouts for these massive teams in Europe. So over on Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com, we'll keep you updated with all the latest Champions League news, schedule posts, how to watch. We'll have you covered. It's getting to the crunch time now. 2 more match weeks to go. Already know a few teams are in the last 16, and it looks like a few more about to book their spot as well. So interesting times around Europe, gents.